Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. Nick Marro DFS here with Jayhawk, as always, to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. As always, here with Occupy Fantasy. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We got a nice 10-game slate tonight. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel. That helps us get more of this free content out to you. You pointed the comments. I was like,
Yeah,
is my volume off? But yeah, Jayhawk, how you feel about this slate first look?
yeah, man. Just have to get people to subscribe, man. But yeah, fun slate tonight. We were talking pre-stream, bunch of 7 p.m. Eastern news that we'll have to cover here. But yeah, super fun slate. Excited to break this one up.
Yeah, lots to talk through. I'll get the chat quickly here. We got Ben Jizzy, Jerry saying, let's turn it around. Carmen, let's have a night. Unicorn, good evening. Steve Wilson, let's cash tonight. Appreciate you all getting in here early. Jayhawk is on double duty. He's going to be in the Discord tonight. So we're going to go game by game, as we always do, but we're going to try to go as quickly as possible. First game on the slate, my Nets are actually relevant for once. We got them taking on the Wizards in Washington. Funnily enough, dude, we're kind of like a game or two out of the play, and it's starting to seem like we might go for it, which is ridiculous. But that's a conversation for another day. No Noah Clowney, Tosan, Melton, D'Angelo Russell, Cam Thomas still out as well. So they're kind of healthy in the front court, missing a few key pieces. This is a back-to-back for them. This is a team who's kind of been capping guys around 30 minutes. We have seen a few guys going over that more recently. Again, I think a big part of that is that they've kind of decided maybe we'll try to play some basketball and try to get into the play-in. This great draft class coming up, I'm not super excited about trying to make a 9 or an 8 seed, but regardless, definitely a good spot here against the Wizards. Not the highest total, but with D'Lo out, Killian Hayes probably get the start at point guard again. We have for 26 minutes. Not really a guy who we ever consider some great fantasy producer, but if you're desperate for value, I think he makes some sense. Cam Johnson, definitely the best player on the floor here. Going to see a ton of usage as long as D'Lo continues to be out. I'm fine getting to him even on the back-to-back. Claxton, I saw this stat today. He has more blocks, I think, than the All-Star since the All-Star break, than any other center in the league. Obviously, Wemby being out is kind of part of that, but yeah, just been loading up the stocks. 5 blocks, 3 blocks, 5 blocks, 2, 4. Been really, really involved on defense. His minutes have come up a bit as well. I think he looks good here. And then, yeah, I mean, you can mix in the Keons, the Zaires of the world. The best play off the bench, probably Trendon Watford. I believe Boyle, shouts out Boyle, put him on the cover video today. I don't know if he's taking a jab at me, but he does look great in the model for whatever that's worth. His value scores come down a bit throughout the day, but he looks to be very popular here. Again, probably going to be playing limited minutes, but he's actually doing some ball handling, surprisingly, with D'Lo off the floor. So he's kind of playing a different role than just sticking in the paint, which is good to see. As far as fantasy production goes, usually we don't spend much time on these Nets, man, but I do think they look good today. I'm definitely fine getting to Cam Johnson, Claxton, some Watford. Those are the 3 I have the most interest in. But how are you handling this Brooklyn squad?
Yeah, man. I don't know if you heard the other night, but I did throw a minor jab at your Brooklyn Nets the other day. But yeah, tonight, Brooklyn against Washington here. I think they look pretty good. In particular, obviously Cam Johnson, 20% owned. I think he looks probably the best here. And then I want to shout out your boy Nick Claxton here, 9% owned against his Washington front court. I think he's a super interesting GPP play here at his ownership. And then I think Watford's fine. Definitely prefer other value plays, I think, overall. But yeah, I think he's definitely solid as a price.
Yeah, the thing with Watford is like even with the kind of increased role, the minutes are going to be capped, and I really like playing him. I've been playing him the last week or so when no one was, but now that he's going to be popular, I'm pretty comfortable finding other ways to pay up at other positions. There's a lot of good value on this slate. On the Wizard side of things, no Sadiq Bey, no Malcolm Brogdon, and the big key here is no Alexandre Sarr. We're probably going to get Rashawn Holmes starting at center again. One of the themes of the slate is definitely there's a lot of good value at center. To me, Holmes might be the best of the bunch, drawing a lot of ownership on both sites, only center eligible, which kind of makes it a conversation over on FanDuel. Obviously, we have Jokic on this slate if you can afford him, but he's definitely my favorite Wizard here. Jordan Poole, kind of inconsistent, has definitely shown that he is upside. We have Chris Middleton playing around 25 25 minutes. Seems like he's capped to a similar point that he was in Milwaukee. I guess we can kind of count on that moving forward. But we got to keep in mind with no Kuzma, guys like Koulibaly, Kaishan George even look okay as kind of secondary options. If I'm getting to anything here aggressively, it's probably Holmes. The field's going to get there as well. I don't mind mixing in maybe some Poole. Then I guess Vukcevic off the bench as a backup center makes some sense for me. Not rushing to him, but he does have forward eligibility, which is very useful, especially on FanDuel. Center only on DK. I don't think he's very playable there. But yeah, man, I like the front court here. As good as Claxton's been playing defensively, I don't know. I think this is still a good spot for Holmes. He's shown to put up pretty solid numbers whenever he's given this opportunity as the starter. But I like Holmes. Don't mind Poole. Could see mixing in some of the others. How are you handling Washington?
Yeah, so you nailed it pretty much here. Holmes, I think, good on both sides here. We did note there is potential more center value that could open up later, so I don't want to go crazy on Holmes, but I think he's definitely solid for his price here. And then 1% Pool, I don't know if I'll get there because low total here, but he's 1% owned. It's Jordan Poole. He has upside. And then Vukovic, I like that shot as well. He does have a ceiling off the bench, but I think I would max one of those two, Vukovic and Holmes, if I was playing them.
Yeah, I'm with that. I definitely wouldn't want both. I definitely prefer Holmes. But again, the forward eligibility on FanDuel for a discount does make a difference. I will just bring up Kaishan George's name one more time. I think where he's priced, he's pretty safe to push 30 plus minutes. Only played 27 against Orlando. Terrible matchup. He actually had a higher usage rate that game than usual. So I think as far as like trends go, he's someone I'm pretty comfortable projecting for 30 plus minutes. So Kaishan George to me looks good. But again, I think Holmes is the prize here. It's just a matter of which other center value we do have and what opens up. Use that to segue into that game that I think you're kind of hinting at. We got the Bulls taking on the Philadelphia 76ers here. 234 and a half point total. Still waiting on news on both sides of this one. The big piece being Nikola Vucevic, who was probable as of 5:30 on the injury report, now a game time decision. I don't know if that means he's technically probable, questionable, or what, but it's kind of weird he came up as a game time decision. Seeing AO still out here. No Patrick Williams as well. Obviously, it's been a while since the trade, but with Levine out, we've seen boosts for some of these starters, namely a Josh Giddey coming off massive games back to back and pretty tough matchups as well against New York and Cleveland. So I do like Giddey here. He looks excellent to me. Herder getting some love. I'm fine not really getting to him very much. But yeah, the big news here is if Vooch is out, Collins is going to look outstanding. If Vooch is in, he's okay. Not something I'd be rushing to. I'm with Giddey on both sites regardless. Don't mind some Kobe White as a way to get a little bit different. And then our boy Lonzo Ball, always fine mixing him in. I just don't know that I want too many of these guards from the Chicago team. Definitely rate Giddey higher than the others right now, at least in his current form. But at lower ownership, it might make sense to pivot a bit. But obviously we're waiting on the center news here. But how are you handling the Bulls? And do you have a hunch on that? Because again, at 5:30, the injury report said probable. Then we heard a game time decision. I don't know if those are both still true or if it was a real downgrade. It's kind of tough. But yeah, man, what's your thought on Chicago?
Yeah, so to start out with Vucevic here, I think it's probably closer to a 50-50. He's been kind of trying to play through whatever he has. So I think it's probably closer to a 50-50. And then for the rest of Chicago here, Josh Giddey, probably my favorite play here, both sides. You mentioned it. Great price point. He has been bowling for Chicago the past couple of games here. Love him on both sides. And then RIP to LeVar Ball, man.
He lost his leg, man. Yeah.
Sucks there. But Lonzo Ball, 5K on about 5K both sides here. I think he looks solid. Just wanted to note him as well. I don't know if I'll get there a ton, but definitely a good price point play. And then Kevin Herter, you mentioned him, 14% owned. He kind of scares me a little bit, if I'm being honest. But yeah, for the most part, really like Giddey here. Love Zach Collins if Vucevic sits.
Yeah, I mean, Herder, the minutes should be there. They do want him as a part of this rotation. We only have him for 24, though. I think if people are looking at game logs, they see that 30-point performance. It feels a little bit chasey. He did get hot that game. I'm more comfortable kind of projecting him where we have him around 25, in which case, again, I'm not getting to him much. But yeah, pretty decent spot for Chicago. Obviously, even more appealing in terms of value if we do get that Vooch news and he is out. Still waiting on some news on the Philadelphia side as well. We already know they're going to be without Embiid, Lowry, Gordon, Edwards, McCain. But we are waiting to hear on Tyrese Maxey. I kind of think he's out, but at the same time, I mean, it's kind of weird that we don't have the news this late in the day. If he's in, he looks good. This is a tremendous matchup for opposing offenses. We already know that. I think regardless of whether Maxi's in or not, we can get to Quentin Grimes. He's been consistently producing, going to start again, projected for as many minutes as pretty much anyone on this team. A little bit cheaper than Oubre over on FanDuel. Definitely a core play on FanDuel. 40% owned, though, really not breaking any ground with that. Oubre, though, on DK, 5,500 looks excellent. We're seeing that reflected in the ownership. These two are the prizes here. Paul George has been pretty terrible, but if Maxi's out, he's going to be tough to get away from, in my opinion. That's kind of the 3 or 4 if you're including Maxi that I'm interested in. I'm fine, not really getting too much Yabusele here. But yeah, man, Grimes, core play for me, even on DK, where he's a little bit lower owns. I like him the best, followed by Oubre, and then George probably in that order, assuming Maxi's out. But how are you handling Philly? And again, do you have a hunch as far as this injury news goes?
Yeah, so you mentioned it. Maxi questionable. Again, I don't have a great hunch on him either. Usually I have a better hunch on these guys, but I think he probably is another true 50-50. So at 9K, if he does play, I do like him a bunch at his price with no Embiid here in the Chicago matchup. And then you mentioned it, Oubre and Grimes. They're probably your cash game plays here. Both have great price points, great matchups on DraftKings and FanDuel. So love both those guys. And then you mentioned George and Yabu. Obviously, if Max hits, I think George is going to look better. But the guy I wanted to know here, Yabu is 14% owned. We have him for 30 minutes. I think he's a pretty sneaky value play if he stays as low owned. I do like him as a producer. So I actually do like Yabu a little bit more than the field here.
Yeah, I mean, the minutes concern me. He hasn't played 30 since the break, but if we're projecting him for him, I mean, he's certainly capable. We'll feel better about it if Maxi's out. I think they'd have to lean on him a bit more, but yeah, anyone against the Bulls probably makes some sense. Let's get to chat real quick here. I saw Jose asking about Ubre's ownership. 40-ish on DK, 14 over on FanDuel. Jose, take that one. ZA, if I lose tonight, done until baseball. Yeah, man. I mean, you can always just play lower dollar, but again, for NBA, it is kind of a labor of love. You have to be involved up until lock, waiting for news, and even after lock, checking out lineups, injury news, etc. In NBA, you can't get away with kind of setting it and forgetting it as you can in some other sports, i.e. baseball. What else we got going on here? Demetrius saying Monday Magic time. We'll get there, man. How many Utah guys is too much? I don't know. There's 2 or 3 I trust. There's a few that are overowned, in my opinion. Unicorn asking about Schroeder. I guess we'll talk about that when we get to Detroit. I know no one's really rushing to play him right now. I think that game against Atlanta was more mirage than anything. Any hot takes on Schroeder?
Yeah, probably not for me tonight.
Yeah, we'll get there soon. Kill Me Again, Hayes from Power. That's a good one, man. Appreciate the puns as always. How are we feeling about going back to Nas? We're going game by game, but I absolutely love Nas Reed here. Rashad, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Better pay up SGA or Joker. I don't know if he's going through a phase. The model, though, is telling us it's Joker. I'm fine going to Joker. He had kind of a weird game against the Lakers, but I wouldn't look too deeply into that. Again, one bad game. He's still who he is. It's a good, nice, pacey matchup, so I'm totally fine going to that one. But yeah, let's keep plugging away here. We got more games in this 7 o'clock window. Next, we have Joker and his Denver Nuggets taking on the Indiana Pacers. Pulling this one up, taking a look. Nice, healthy 246-point total. On the what am I saying? On the Denver side of things, no Kankar. That's really it. Peyton Watson out as well, so they're pretty healthy. They did get Russ back, obviously, since the All-Star break. He's kind of working his way back into the rotation to his normal minutes. Jokic looks good to me here. I'm fine getting to Porter. I think Gordon's price is finally where it should be. Still think he's decent over on DK. Braun and Westbrook feel a little bit overpriced to me right now. Always fine to Murray. Definitely prefer him in lineups where I'm not playing Jokic. Definitely prefer him on DK. But the fact he is shooting on guard eligibility on both sides does make him appealing here. It's really Jokic for me. Again, there's so many good value plays on this slate. It's kind of tough to get to him on FanDuel, but that's the same reason I like him because it is going to keep the ownership down. But at the same time, I mean, tough to call him entirely safe when he's pushing 13K over there, over 12K, or at 12K on DK. I like Jokic. I like Murray. Final supporter in Gordon. But Jayhawk, how are you handling the Denver Nuggets this evening?
Yeah, just a quick shout here. I mentioned this in Discord yesterday. When we have like a 247 total here and the chalkiest player is 17% owned on Denver here, I think we have to account for that. So I think all Denver here in tournaments looks great in this total. Starting with Jokic, 17% owned, probably too low owned at his price. Super high ceiling, high OF index. I don't really care that he had a bad game, man. It's still Nikola Jokic. And then I think Jamal, you mentioned it as well. 9% owned, 8% owned on FanDuel. Great price point, great matchup. So totally fine with Jokic and Jamal. And then the rest of the team here, like I think they're all fine in PJ Gordon, but it's mainly Jokic and Murray for me.
Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah, it would be Gordon as like a third play for me, but yeah, man, great point. I mean, when we see a total pushing 250, if no one's going to be owned, they probably should be. Over on the Indiana side of things, TJ McConnell is going to be out tonight. It's pretty rare. He's a guy who usually gets involved. No Jackson, James Johnson, Isaiah Jackson. Everything else is G League. So they're healthy other than, I guess, TJ McConnell as far as that regular rotation goes. Maybe that means a few more minutes for someone like Nemhard who already sees plenty of minutes, or Ben Shepherd. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm fine getting to Halliburton. He's been playing better at home. Again, Denver's defense, especially on the road, not really something we need to be terrified of. I think Siakam looks good here. Understanding the ownership, was kind of hoping he wouldn't be as popular as he is. But yeah, there's a lot of good plays in that range tonight. I think he's someone you could include. Wouldn't really call him a core player or anything. Turner is fine, but again, I don't know. There's just so many value centers. I think I'm mostly paying all the way up or all the way down. Turner doesn't really fit that mold for me. I don't know. I'm fine with Halliburton. I do think he's underpriced on DK. Then I do like Nemhard if he's going to get a few extra minutes, but I'm not going to sit here and say I'm confident in that. Again, this team runs a really deep bench. We could see more like Johnny Furphy or something. So don't really want to get carried away over projecting some of these secondary options. But I do like Hallie, more so on DK. I do like Siakam. Wish he wasn't as popular. But those two for me, maybe some Nemhard. That's about it. But Jayhawk, to your point, very high total here. Maybe we should like more Indiana. How are you handling them?
Yeah, so you nailed it here. I think both Howley and Siakam probably the main targets. Turner, you called it. It's just tough to get to him. Just with all the good top tier and value centers. I think if I had to pick one between Howley and Siakam, I would slightly lean Howley here. I just think the game environment fits him a little bit better with a three-pointer. So I do slightly lean Howley, but I think both those guys firmly in play in tournaments. And then after those guys, I'm not really getting to much here from Indy.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that Matherin's been moved to the bench. He's coming off the bench now. If he were to slide back into the starting lineup, he's underpriced. But again, he's been benched for Naismith. I don't really have interest in Naismith, but it's enough for us to not have much interest in Matherin. As I'm saying that, though, looking at Naismith, back-to-back games where he's pushing, I don't know, 25 to 30 fantasy points in 24 minutes. We have him for 24 here. Not someone I really thought I would be getting to, but maybe Vooch is in. Maybe some of this value we're waiting on doesn't break our way. I do think Naismith, if he's starting again over Matherin as a last piece in, has some upside here. If he plays more than 24 minutes, probably has 30 fantasy point upside. I know it's gross. He has a low floor, but as far as tournament plays go, I do want to mention Naismith. We'll move on to the next game, Jayhawk. But any thoughts on Aaron Naismith here? Am I crazy for that one? Model doesn't love him, but he's rating all right in terms of value on DK.
Yeah, I wasn't super high on him looking into the slate, but I guess you mentioned it. The value doesn't go our way. I don't think it's crazy to get maybe a couple percent of Neesmith.
Yeah, again, it's more like it's something you might need just to build. It's not like a core player or anything like that. I believe we got one more game in the 7 o'clock window here. We do. Clippers taking on the Detroit Pistons. Clippers tonight, resting Kawhi, Norm Powell, Ben Simmons, a few other guys, G Leaguers, nothing too significant. But yeah, 3 key players out. If you want to call Ben Simmons a key player, I don't know. But Harden, one of the most popular guards on the slate, going to see increased usage here. Most of the season without Kawhi, I was going to Norm Powell ahead of Harden, but we don't have Norm here either. So I do think Harden looks really good on paper. Going to see increased usage. Not the best matchup against Detroit, but certainly one that they should be able to remain competitive in. As far as value goes, I mean, I'm seeing Chris Dunn getting some love. If Amir Coffee starts, and I think he will, I actually think I prefer him slightly. Dunn probably has more of an upside, but at much lower ownership for a bit of a discount. I don't mind going to Coffee as a pivot. Derek Jones Jr., no love for him either here. He's someone we've seen spike his ceiling from time to time. And then Zubac. I was talking before I would pay all the way up or all the way down. If I'm in this mid range, it's probably this game. I do like these two centers, Zoo being one. Probably going to have to see some extra usage, a little bit more pick and roll than usual with Harden here. Yeah, all these starters are kind of intriguing. Tough to trust any of them, really. I do think Harden's probably good chalk, though. Fine mixing in Zoo. And then the three value guys are fine as long as they're starting. But yeah, man, kind of a tricky spot. Not the best matchup, not the worst, but obviously there's some upside for these guys with both Powell and Kawhi sidelined.
Yep, you nailed it. I think James Harden, I think he's good chalk as well. Obviously, no Norm playing here and no Kawhi, so I think he looks awesome in cash game and tournaments. And then Zubac, 7,500, good price here. Should get an uptick in shot attempts as well. I think he's firmly in play in the mid tier. And then I'm a little bit different than you. I do prefer Dunn to Coffee, but Coffee's still a good producer too. So I don't hate that shot as well. And then were
Yeah.
you going to any Bogdanovich, 3% owned, 14% owned on FanDuel? I've told myself I'm never playing this guy again.
I mean, he's showed us the 30-point ceiling. I don't really think I want to chase it. And to your point, I mean, I said I prefer Coffee. It's mostly just an ownership thing for the discount. Like, if I have a salary, Doug is the better play. He is the safer play. Again, we have him for 30 minutes. Historically, Chris Dunn on a lot of these other teams was never getting to 30. Ty Lue and the Clippers are comfortable getting him to that minute mark. So I do like Dunn. I do think he's safer in cash games if you're playing when it's done. Just wanted to clarify that. I do think Coffee's a viable tournament pivot. But yeah, man, I'd rather go to Derek Jones over Bogdanovich. Like, I just don't trust him at all. It's so scoring dependent. Even when he was starting at point guard, some of those games for Atlanta this season, he just sucked. I don't know what's wrong with him. Probably tough to stay super involved when you're getting traded every few months. But yeah, man, that's a no for me on Bogdan.
Perfect. I wasn't going to play him either, so.
Nice. Glad we're in agreement on that one. On the other side of the ball here, we got the Detroit Pistons. Obviously, Cade up at the top, looking like a really solid pay-up option. No Fontecchio or Harper or Ivy. Everything else, just a bunch of G Leaguers. Don't need to talk through that too much. Oscar Thompson, I know I'm one of a few guys beating the drum, but he's pretty much as good as Amon. They're true twins. I know in the NBA we see a lot of these twins come, and one's the good one, one's the bad one. I think they're both excellent. It's just the minutes. That's the only issue. The only thing really holding him back right now. Even so, I think he's viable as a tournament play. 5,600 on DK, not so much on FanDuel, but that is too low for what he's capable of in terms of upside. As long as he continues to start, I'm fine getting there. Definitely more of a tournament play. In cash games, it would really just be Cade. But again, if I'm paying up, I probably wouldn't be going to Cade here. I don't know, man. These guys as a team feel underowned. I don't think there's anything I'm super bullish on. Like I said, I like Osser. I just don't love the minutes. I don't mind Tobias. He just doesn't really have a ceiling. Jalen Duren, probably my favorite play here from Detroit, but at the same time, this slate is loaded with center options. So Detroit looks good, but I don't really think there's a core play on that side. How are you handling these Pistons?
Yeah, I think all these guys for Detroit are all fine as like viable run backs. I think Caden, Azor, probably my two favorites, but I guess you could mix in Duran 2% owned. But yeah, all these guys probably just like last piece in potential run backs here for me. I don't have like a huge stand on any of these guys.
Yep, I'm with you, man. Just some news real quick. Gordon and Murray are in for Denver. Ware is in, as is Tyler Hero for Miami. And the big one, Maxey, is available to play tonight. So again, I still think Grimes is excellent. I don't mind Oubre. I like him a little bit less. Still think you could play him on DK. The 6,500 with Maxey, and I'm not crazy about him. But yeah, Grimes still a core play for me. I do want to get to some Maxey now. What does this change for you with Maxey and for Philly real quick?
Maybe just a slight bump down to Yabu. I thought Maxi may sit, so slight bump to Yabu, and then maybe a minor bump down to guys like Paul George. But I think he's still firmly in play.
Yeah, George, it's not quite a priority for me. He's kind of a second tier play. I do like him, but obviously with Maxi the higher usage generally when those two are on the floor together. Miami at Atlanta now in the 7:30 window, 231 point total here. On the Miami side, we just got word that Hero and Ware are available. No Jovic right now. Kevin Love, Drew Smith are going to be out as well. Drew's out for the season. I think that's it as far as injuries go on that side. So this is a nice spot for them. Atlanta's defense pretty shaky, especially with Johnson out. Nice paced up matchup here for them as well. I think Hero and Wiggins both look excellent. I'm fine getting to Bam, especially because you could play him at power forward. Those three to me are the three I want. I think Davion Mitchell is like a last piece and is okay, but really don't want to beat that drum. It's Hero, Wiggins, Bam for me, probably in that order. I do like all three of these guys. I love the matchup. Feel kind of getting to them as well, though. But how are you handling the Miami Heat?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much on the same page. Hero and Bam are probably my two favorites. I think Wiggins is still fine. I just really wasn't landing there a bunch in at least my current builds. But I think both Bam and Hero a little bit, you know, under owned here for their prices. So yeah, I like Bam at 10%. I like Hero at 20%. Great matchups here for both those guys.
Yeah, and the thing with Wiggins, he fills a small forward position. It's a little bit tougher to fill than some of the others. And again, he's playing crazy minutes. All three of these guys are. So we have him for 36. I think he's played 39 in back-to-back, something like that. So Miami, definitely don't ignore them here. On the other side of this game, not quite as good of a matchup. Still a solid game environment, though. Jalen Johnson out, no Larry Nance. Trae Young is in and available, dealing with some tendonitis, but nothing too significant, it seems. I'm fine getting to Trae. Zach Reasher kind of saved my night the other night. He went off. Him and Georges Niang seem like they're like the two new boomer bust plays every single slate. Both have 40-point upside, but you're only going to get it like one out of every 4 nights. So if you want to roll that kind of dice, I think both of them are fine to mix in. Dyson Daniels on DK is mispriced. I think he's under-owned over there. 6,900 seems like he's going overlooked on FanDuel. 8K, not nearly as interested, but that kind of tells you that on DK he's going to be under-owned. Fine getting to Trae. Again, tons of good guards, especially now that we have Maxey in. Gouye could get the start here. I don't think he will. Not really going to play him either way. Levert's been good off the bench, but where he's priced, not really a priority. For me, I do like Niang and Reasher. Not enough to pick one or over the other. Probably wouldn't want them in the same lineup. I do think they have upside. Daniels on DK, my favorite play for sure from Atlanta. I wouldn't argue with any Trae exposure either, but decent spot here for the Hawks. Again, still missing Jalen Johnson, a few other key pieces. How are you handling this one?
Yeah, so this is kind of similar to Detroit. I think all these guys are fine run backs. Trey and Dyson were kind of the two guys I was looking at here. Both, good plays in this game environment. And then you mentioned Ricochet and Niang. The model loved Niang yesterday as well. Even off the bench, he had a good game, but he's a little bit risky. Just he's very shot dependent. So I'm fine mixing in Niang. And then Ricochet, he's been pretty solid for Atlanta here. So low owned Ricochet, I don't hate that either.
Yeah, so they have Levert, Niang, and Ricochet now, right? So I think any given night, two of those three could probably exceed value. We saw it last night, but for those two to have the games they did, Levert had an absolute dud. So you definitely would have won all three. I think every night one of them is going to completely bust. Some nights all will. But yeah, I think there's definitely correlation there on this bench between those three wings. And if one guy's going to have a huge game, odds are the other two aren't. So just keep that in mind. As far as that game goes, I think that's it. I'll take a quick look at chat and get into the 8 o'clock window. Let's see here. Don't mind the shy backups. Yeah, they are shorthanded power. We can talk through them a little bit more. I don't know. Murray, Joker, static, pace of stock. Yeah, you could do it, Landon. You could play them together. More so because I think Murray's a little bit underpriced. With you on Don Unicorn. Glad J Hawk kind of talked me back into that one. Hot take, Giddy will be the highest scoring one guard having 3%, so expect a legacy game. Dude, he's coming off 2 huge games. I'd be surprised if he wasn't more popular. I think people see those 60-point games and they're like, I got to get some exposure. Yeah, Paul George stinks right now. It is what it is. Kamar, good pivot off Oubre. Absolutely, Jose. We'll talk about that one in a bit. Is it the Ray J. Dennis debut tonight? I got to look this guy up. I don't know a ton about him. For the Pacers, I wouldn't bank on it, man. Even if he's getting backup point guard minutes, TJ McConnell plays like 15, 16 minutes a game, and he puts up numbers even though he doesn't play a lot of minutes. None of their backups are really going to make that up. So don't mind the shout. Definitely a name that exists, but probably not one you need to play tonight. Get away with the net center and Zoo. Yeah, I think Claxton's a lot safer than Watford in terms of point per dollar. There's a lot of good value, though. We also got Holmes from Washington in that price range I'd take a look at. 18% dice and expect trade to go all the way off. Yeah, I mean, point per dollar, Dyson easier to get to. We like them both, though. Getting into the 8 o'clock window now. This was a fun competitive game last time. Widespread tonight, though. We got the Timberwolves taking on the Thunder. Still no Gobert or Rudy or DiVincenzo for Minnesota. And what that has done is made Naz Reid even a better play. Loved him in the Randall role, and now he's playing center with Gobert out. Even in a game where it's a tough defense, there's, I guess, a little blowout risk. I'm still loading up on Naz Reid. I think he's underpriced on both sides. One of my favorite tournament plays on the entire slate, actually rating as the best value play for Minnesota on both sides. Naz Reid, to me, one of the best plays on the slate. Again, the risk is blowout. Other than that, I'm not really concerned about anything. Ant's been fine, having to handle the ball a little bit more than usual. McDaniels gets overlooked. He has upside. Alexander Walker's been playing well as the starter. The issue with him is just that the price is way up now. He's over 5K. I still think you can get to him. I'm not going to call him a core or anything like that. And then Jalen Clark's been playing really well. I think he left the game last night hurt. I didn't say he's on the injury report, did I? He's questionable. So if he's in, you could go back to Clark. If he's out, I guess maybe you could mix in Dillingham. More than anything, I think it would just make Conley's minutes safer. But again, my favorite play here by a lot is Naz Reid. Going to be loading up on him here. Kind of baffled he's not more popular. I think people are just afraid of the matchup. But again, no Chet tonight either for OKC. Jayhawk, how you handling the Timberwolves? Are you getting to as much Naz as me? I'd probably be like 30-40%, honestly, if I'm playing 100 or so.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'll get that much, but I think that's a great shout. The thing I wanted to know with Nas here is they played OKC. This will be the third time they played OKC. I think within the past month, the game has been close, like every game. So it'll probably blow out tonight. But Nas Reid, 7,900. I think he's one of the best low-owned tournament plays on this slate. You mentioned it. Gobert's out. He's taken a ton of shots. Great producer. So love Nas. You called it. I think that's a great shout. And then Anthony Edwards just going to shoot a bunch once again. I think he's fine as well. So Nas and Ant, 2 targets here. Then after that, I don't have much interest here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for the other starters, but I'm totally with you, man. Those are definitely the priorities. Over on the OKC side of things, Holmgren getting the rest here. Obviously, no Nikola Topic. AJ Mitchell's still out for them as well. We're getting a little bit healthier. Kaysen Wallace back, kind of playing his regular minutes. He cuts into these guys like Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, but I don't really need to get to any of this value. I will say, at low ownership, SGA, definitely someone you could probably get a little bit of exposure to. And with Chet still out, I think that's great for Jalen Williams. Again, just 2 players who, to me, are under-owned given their respective upsides. They're definitely expensive. There's definitely easier options at their respective positions. But those 2 and Hartenstein, I mean, with no Chet, you have to think he sees a booster as well. A little bit underpriced. The issue, again, is just we have so many good options at center. But, yeah, man, I think SGA, Jalen, and even Isaiah are a little bit under-owned tonight. How about you?
Yeah, OKC, I just really wasn't getting there. I guess SGA would probably be my play here. 3% owned. Maybe you could run like a SGA Nas Reid mini stack. But Hardenstein, J-Dub, like I think they're both fine, but I wasn't really getting to a bunch of any of these guys outside of maybe some SGA.
Yeah, 230 point total, kind of neutral. But again, I just think compared to some of the other options we have on the slate, a little bit underrepresented. Model approved as well, so no issues there. 9 o'clock window now. This is the last game on DK. The 10 o'clock game's on FanDuel only. We will talk through that. I'm definitely playing both sides tonight. But first, we got Blazers and Jazz. Very important game on the Utah side. Starting with Portland, though, still no DeAndre Ayton or Robert Williams. Sounds like Matisse Thybulle still out as well. Other than that, nothing too significant. But yeah, that leaves one center, right? We got Donovan Clingan we can consider here. To me, under-owned. He hasn't been great. The minutes have been kind of capped. And I wish Utah was healthy because I feel better about him getting run. I don't mind Clingan as a tournament play. kind of wish they were playing a bigger team. Denny, Tumani, Anthony Simons all look excellent. Jeremy Grant is kind of the last piece in. It's fine with me. But yeah, Kamara, as long as he's playing shooting guard, I absolutely love him. Love that he's starting alongside Denny and Grant. Sends Sharp and Henderson to the bench, but I'm fine with that right now. These guys are good. We're going to be heavy on Utah. The whole field makes sense to have some of these guys as runbacks. I think all of the starters make sense. Probably less Klingon because of the matchup, but again, all the starters look good to me here. How are you handling Portland?
Yeah, so you nailed it. All three of the forwards here, Denny, Jeremy, Tumani, I think all look good in tournaments. Good matchup. I'm pretty sure the total, 231 total, so not a bad total at all. I think my favorite here's per ownership, probably Tumani, 14% owned. And then Chuck and I were ragging on Jeremy Grant the other day, but he pretty much slammed it in our face. Big game last game. I think he's too cheap, 5,200 at his price. So like Jeremy, and then I think Denny's probably your cash game forward here, 6,300. He has one, so.
Yeah. The price on DK for Denny is kind of crazy. I know he hasn't necessarily been hitting that value, but only played 23 minutes against Charlotte before that game got out of hand. Still had over 27 fantasy points. So again, when you're looking at game logs, take it all with a grain of salt. Minutes matter more than necessarily what they're doing on a night-to-night basis in terms of production. So on the Utah side of things, a lot to talk about. Gotta take a breath here before I list these injuries. We got Clarkson, Collins, Hendricks, Kessler, Markkanen, Sexton, all out here for the Utah Jazz. Looks like Filipowski is projected to get the start at center. I think that makes sense. If he is starting at center, I like him a lot because we get forward eligibility on FanDuel. On DK, you can play two centers. He looks good. Sensabaugh, tremendous point per minute producer. His minutes are the most inconsistent from these starters. I'm fine getting to him. Never really interested in Micah Parter. If there was ever a night for it, though, maybe it's tonight. It's a no for me. But then Keontae George coming off the bench, definitely the highest ceiling here, coming off a game where he had 51 points on both sides in just 29 minutes against a pretty good Houston Rockets defense. So Keontae to me is excellent here. I like that he's not as popular as some of the other options. I do trust Filipowski a little bit more than Sensabaugh. They're very similar in my opinion, and I'm fine getting to Collier, who I think you could play with George again because some of their minutes are going to be staggered. Those four to me look excellent. If you want to mix in KJ, fine. If Svi starts, you can mix him in as well. I don't think he does, though. So this is something we have to keep an eye on. If Svi comes off the bench, probably wouldn't play him at his price. He's worth mentioning. But yeah, man, Utah, definitely a tricky spot tonight. I don't know that anyone can be super confident what the starting lineup's going to look like. I'm thinking it's Collier, Sensabaugh, KJ Parter, Filipowski. But it could be Williams. We could see Svi. Could Keontae George start? Sure. They get a lot of ways they could go here. But I think the starters and then George, regardless, are going to look good to me. How about you?
Yeah, just going into the slate, I did not expect to load up on Utah, but here we are, man. But
Yeah.
so Filipowski, he's probably the number one play here. 41% owned, 4,600. Short start here for all these injured guys for Utah. And then I love Sensabaugh. High DK value score, 19 DK value. Great FanDuel and DK price. He's another one of my favorite plays. Obviously, super chalky. And then Keontae George, Chuck and I were on him the other stream too. Great price. He's just a chopper, man. He's going to go out there and shoot the ball. So great price point. Love Keontae in tournaments. And then Collier is more of your facilitator. I think he's solid both sides as well. But these top three guys, Filipowski, Sensabaugh, George, the main guys I want to get to here.
Yeah, Collier definitely more of a facilitator, back-to-back games, getting over 10 assists, but those still count in fantasy, so I like him there too. But yeah, man, really good game, and it is late, so if you're getting exposure here, maybe things, I don't know, we get some news between now and then, you can use those spots to pivot as necessary. We got one more game here on just the FanDuel slate. Charlotte Hornets taking on the Sacramento Kings, 233-point total. Charlotte, a little bit healthier. Still no Mark Williams, Grant Williams, Okogie, Brandon Miller, Trey Mann, or Daquan Jeffries, though. But LaMelo's available, probably playing limited minutes, so he's kind of tough to get to. Where are we? Pulling up Charlotte. Yeah, Bridges has had some massive games lately. He's super expensive at this point. Nurkic, I don't know. With Williams out, I guess we could get there. Don't love the matchup. And on FanDuel, where he's actually available on the main slate, it's tough to love the price. as good as he's been, he hasn't played 20 minutes yet for this team, which is enough for me to kind of pump the brakes. I don't mind Bridges. That's probably it. I don't know. Salulin is like a desperation punt. He's been playing 20 minutes a game. I can't say I feel good about anything in Charlotte. I always love getting exposure to this late game, but it's kind of tough, man. Would you be getting to any Hornets here?
Yeah, so if I was playing FanDuel, I think the one guy maybe you could look at, I didn't hate maybe getting to some Bridges, but
Yeah.
it's I can't play LaMelo right now. It's just I don't know what's going on. He's not getting nearly as many shots as he has in the earlier on the season. So for the most part, it's mainly just Bridges for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think it's just Bridges, really. I would like to play maybe some Diabate, but there's so many good value plays on the slate at center. On FanDuel, especially, where you only have one slot, really can't justify it. Over on the King side of things, starting to gel a little bit since that Levine trade. No injury report yet for them. I don't know if it's because back to back or they haven't submitted it or they're just 100% healthy. I'll say this: if they're healthy, they're all kind of priced where they should be. You could play Monk, Levine, DeRozan, or Sabonis, but at the same time, I mean, there's not a ton of meat on that bone. You really need them to go off in a big way, and there is a little bit of blowout risk here. One of the wider spreads. Laravia off the bench seems like they want to get him in the rotation. He has not been good though. Keon Ellis is like a really, really bottom of the barrel type play. I'm sitting here trying to find something I like on Sacramento. I really don't, man. If anything, I'd be playing probably some Levine or DeRozan, but just don't love the game environment. Don't love that they're healthy. Don't love the prices. But yeah, enough upside for sure to maybe consider them if you're max entering. Would you be getting to any Kings if you're on FanDuel?
So I actually do like the bonus at 6% in this matchup. I think he's an interesting tournament play. And then you
Yeah.
mentioned it. I think both Levine and DeRozan you can get to. I do prefer Levine. I will note I'm also a big Levine fan, so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, DeRozan, it's another situation where it's tough for both of them to go off on a given night. They both have upside. Same with Monk. Like one of the three probably goes for 50. The other two probably kill you if you're looking for point per dollar production. So a tricky team now, at least as long as they're going to be healthy. Take a quick look at chat, and then we do have time for, I think, a quick dummy build here. Hunter or Naismith, Herder or Naismith for value. If Vooch is out, I'd go Herder. If Vooch is in, I would go Naismith. You got any take on that one, Jay?
Yeah, I'd probably Naismith there, but it's that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, if Vooch is out, maybe you go Herder. But since about giving me anxiety every give me anxiety. Yeah, man. I mean, the night you feel good about everything, it's either too chalky or it's usually not the best sign. So I'm with it, man. Definitely like sensible. If you had to choose Naismith, Herder just doesn't do it. Appreciate you guys answering each other's questions in here as well, looking to build this community and carry it into the Discord where Jayhawk's going to be live in a few minutes. If you look at my lineup for me, Singler, if you tell me what you would change. Don, maybe ask the chat for that one. If there's a name that sticks out to me, I'll tell you though. Keanu Sensabaugh can't play Philippou me in the teeth. Yeah, whenever you get a center and forward, he's tempting, but I get it. Don Grimes, George, Hero, Sensible, Watford, Zubac, Reed. I mean, there's nothing bad there, man. If I changed anything, it might be George now that Maxi's in. It's a pretty good lineup. Any thoughts on that quick, Jayhawk?
I like it. You get a low-owned Watford and Zubac in there as well. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. I prefer Bam tonight, Torian. It's close, though. You got to take on that one, Bam Siakam.
Oh, I'm gonna say this is tough. I'm gonna go Bam just because he's like 10% less owned than Siakam.
Yep, I'm with it. ZA saying he's stumped in cash tonight. Yeah, man, I think you're starting with Utah, Philly, depending on the site. Definitely Grimes on either site. Oubre if you're on DK. Center is tough. I think if Vooch is out, you're probably going to Collins. I think Holmes is safe now if you want to go with him instead, though. But we'll have that news before lock. All right, let's do a really quick dummy build, man. Where are we starting? Probably some of this Utah team, right?
Yeah, Sensible.
George. Yeah, let's go with Sensible. I mean, the minutes for him scare me, but he's
Yeah.
so cheap. I think he should be fine. I mean, we have Filipowski too. That's the thing. He's center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those guys are all really good. I like all those guys.
Yeah, we could leave all three. I think we both like Giddy a lot.
Yep, yeah, he's a good player. And then
Um,
probably one of Grimes or Oubre. Grimes maybe.
I definitely prefer Grimes to those two. Power forward. I know Watford's popular. We have some salary though. I'd like to get Nas in there.
Oh, I love Nas. That's a great shot. Let's get him in there.
Awesome. Still 6,900 left for forward and utility. We got the Paul Georges of the world. Denny probably.
Yeah, Denny's solid. Any of those Portland forwards, even like Jeremy Grant, is good too.
Yeah, I think Denny's probably a little bit safer. I'm with you though. I think you can play either. And then if Vooch is in, he looks good. If he's out, you go to Zubac. That's a pretty damn good lineup right there. I think that is everything, guys. Going to give Jayhawk a minute to catch his breath. He'll be live in Discord. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Helps us get more free content out to you. Check the links in the description below to get access to the model we use on every one of these streams, as well as the lineup builder and access to the Discord. Vooch is out, so shouts out Power, always breaking the news last minute. Zach Collins, now your cash center, assuming he's going to start. So love Zach Collins. The model's absolutely going to love him as well. Any last thoughts, Jayhawk, before I let you go? I know you're on double duty today.
Let's go Nas Reed tonight. Low on Nas Reed. Let's do it.
Let's go. Flo and Nas Reed, absolutely love